Mark Simmons had the misfortune of living in Homestead, Florida when Hurricane Andrew blasted South Dade County.
This is my house, my old house here.
2 years later, most of his former neighbors have recovered.
We were over visiting Wayne and Nadine.
What do you think?
Doesn't it look good? Looks real good.
But his former next-door neighbor lost his home when a contractor took the money, then failed to deliver. Condo after condo remain abandoned. Many businesses also failed to weather the storm. Severe weather can hit with little or no warning. Floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes. You need a plan of action to minimize your losses and keep your company afloat.
Planning is the key, and planning requires the careful consideration of what critical processes occur in your plant that might go awry if left unchecked.
A good plan is essential. Now let's look at different types of natural disasters. Workers at the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables, Florida, know firsthand how damaging a hurricane can be. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew raised a lot of questions still being discussed.
How do I operate without electricity? How do I operate without air conditioning? That was the big problem we had right here. We had emergency generators, 2 of them, never lost power in that sense. We had everything, even a backup air conditioner system. But the one thing that we had missed was that the air conditioner systems are on the roof of this 12-story building, and there was no water getting up there.
Portable air conditioners and toilets kept the center in business, so workers here could warn the rest of South Florida. Think the unthinkable when you plan. Hurricanes come and go, but the way you should approach them remains constant.
And it really just takes someone to sit down and say, what if? And then analyze their own situation. What can I do about it? And usually having some mutual aid kind of situation.
Pembroke Pines, north of Miami, pitched in to relieve Dade County during Andrew.
I just get chills thinking about it, what was down there. Nobody imagined until they were driving along the turnpike and you were placed in a situation trying to get there would take you 2 hours that would normally take you 20 minutes from this area.
Plan for delays, but above all, look for ways to avoid costly delays. Remember Mark Simmons? He's a safety expert with Florida East Coast Railway, just one of countless businesses that learned the hard way from Hurricane Andrew.
We didn't consider the time loss that we would be down as far as our electrical power, and we had only very small generators to run small operations. We were going to be out of power for possibly weeks and months, so we had to call in backup generators. We had to get generators from out of state, very large capacity.
Get contracts for generators and other vital machines in place before disaster strikes. While you consider equipment, don't overlook your workers. Remember to prepare for the needs of your staff. Parents will have to look after children. Your company may have to provide for basic needs.
Making appropriations for our employees to be able to feed them here while they're at work when they did finally start coming back to work, because they were not eating properly at home as it was, and we were going to ask them to come out here and work, and we had to make sure we took care of them.
Some workers may face severe problems that keep them away from work. Natural disasters can bring out the best or the worst in people. So make sure you consider the security of your investment and your people.
We looked at it from the safety aspect, security aspect. We brought our police department in and looked at the security aspect of it, interfacing with the local communities as far as what we can do to help them.
Andrew is teaching other communities how to prepare for weather-related disasters. In Siesta Key, south of Tampa, the barrier island is ready to batten down the hatches.
What we've done is we've just taken 3/4 inch pressure-treated plywood. We've pre-cut it and pre-drilled it to each window and numbered them. It makes it very simple when in the threat of a hurricane, they just go out, grab the panel, as you saw, and just bolt it right in. There's bolts already set in the hole. It just gives you that much more time if you have something pre-done like that to get all of your plan together and enacted before you have to evacuate.
Pay close attention to storm warnings broadcast through the media. Invest in shutters like these to protect windows. Once the windows go, the rest of the structure is more vulnerable. If ordered to evacuate, do so, but remember vital equipment.
What we try to do is get everything done, and as soon as they tell us to evacuate, we're gone. And when we do leave, we take everything, vehicles, chainsaws, generators, and equipment, so that we probably could get back on the key in the event there will be a recovery.
Keep company records secure. That probably means protecting some computers from the storm.
If you have a computer database that you're using and your computer database gets wiped out and you have no backup system that's somewhere else in some protected area, you're out of luck.
The National Hurricane Center recently spent $150,000 to upgrade its radar system. Now meteorologists can check the wind speed of storms, something that gives us an indication of their destructiveness. You can better prepare your company for disaster if you invest in some basic technologies. Technologies you'll need if disaster strikes.
Base 2 to Unit 2.
Communication is vital, both as a warning system
Coming in, possibly 55-mile-an-hour winds.
and as a way to coordinate recovery. Radios and cellular phones are good investments no matter what the disaster.
When you say that it won't hit you, you can bet it will, and you have to be able to plan for this, and it's not something you can do in just a day.
One August day, a string of tornadoes touched down near Richmond, Virginia. A.G. Moore is the fire chief of the community hardest hit.
The communications center dispatched 3 calls simultaneously. 2 of those were overturned vehicles with people trapped on the streets here in the city, and then the third one was a potential collapse of the Walmart building.
3 people died here. More were trapped inside the structure.
One of the most critical patients that I remember was a female who was trapped underneath the 12-inch block. And we also had water mains broken off in there. And we were concerned that she, possibly before we got her out, was going to drown right before our eyes.
But crews shut the water off and pulled the woman from the rubble. The injured came to area hospitals for treatment. The company helped emergency management on the scene.
You need to have a central meeting place outside the store should an emergency hit, so you can count your personnel and then have someone, it could be 2 or 3 people, that are technical support to the incident management team on the scene.
Your disaster plan should spell out personnel assignments during a disaster like this one. Update your plan with the names and telephone numbers of new employees on a regular basis.
If the plan is not updated as things change in your business, you just might as well not have the plan. It needs to be updated as you go.
Cal State Northridge had a plan for what to do if disaster struck. Sure enough, a 6.8 earthquake tested that plan.
We had a plan that was a typical state-generated emergency preparedness plan. It was very thick, it was very official looking, it was very useless during the disaster. Very few people used it. It just wasn't a useful tool.
It took 9 months for this office to return to normal. Now a new disaster plan is out.
You need to be able to hand it to somebody who knows nothing about emergency preparedness and tell them, your job is this, so what do you have to do? And if they can't figure it out within about 30 seconds, then we need to go back to the drawing board.
In all, the campus sustained about $350 million worth of damage, the most ever to an American university from a natural disaster.
Never underestimate the destructive force of a natural disaster. This was a parking garage on the Cal State Northridge campus. Imagine how many people could have been killed if the quake had struck while students were in class.
But the problems were severe nonetheless. The university campus is full of hazardous chemicals.
Probably 80% of the older buildings we had massive asbestos contamination. Unfortunately, with the aftershocks, as we were cleaning up and making several weeks worth of progress, an aftershock would undo all of that. So we had to look at not only cleaning up the asbestos, but then establishing a system that would prevent further contamination.
The clock serves as a reminder of how the earthquake made time stand still. Hurricane Gordon only brushed the coast off the mid-Atlantic, but heavy rains caused flooding across the Tidewater region of eastern Virginia. Tides ran high, too high in some places. Mark Marchbank uses a map from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to assess flooding potential.
Well, I think you look at the elevation of the land, how it's going to be impacted, then you sort of extend outward.
Remember to use all of your resources. Consult maps and books and government officials.
Our focus tends to be more towards the public, but again, we like to go out and talk to businesses. I know I take the FEMA publications and share that with our business. I've spoken to several groups.
If you're in a flood zone, you may want to make a checklist of steps to take during a flood. Before the flood, relocate inventory if possible. Attach markers to vital equipment so it can be located if underwater. Use metal barriers to seal off doorways if necessary. Reduce flammable liquids on site in case of an electrical short. During the flood, prepare a new water source if public water is contaminated. Start fire pumps if necessary. Consult your local fire department for assistance. After the flood, be prepared to recondition engines and motors if they were underwater. Check fire extinguishers. Check public water for contamination. Remove debris as soon as possible. Take steps to dry electrical equipment. No matter what disaster the plan, any plan should help.
Hopefully, if we have a major snowstorm, if we have some other type of emergency, that the components that we put together for planning for the hurricane would be applicable in anything. And this is sort of the all-hazards approach in terms of emergency planning.
Whether the problem is wind or rain or something else, there's one more vital point to consider. Disasters are naturally stressful events. Stress brought many Floridians to their knees during Hurricane Andrew.
Most of us were visibly ill, with stomach upsets and so on and so on. And it was definitely a mental and a physical strain for 3.5, 4 hours.
Remember, stress can reduce the effectiveness of your staff. You may want to rotate workers every few hours during an emergency. Now let's review. Here's a checklist that applies to any natural disaster. Planning is critical. A good plan will greatly reduce losses. Think the worst, plan for the worst-case scenario. Plan for lengthy delays. It may take weeks or months for businesses to return to normal. Contract in advance. You may need to acquire generators and other equipment from out of state if the disaster covers a wide region. Prepare for human needs. Realize some workers may not make it to work due to family emergencies. Others may need food and shelter. Consider security. You may need to secure your assets during a disaster. Listen to warnings. Pay attention to radio and television warnings. Evacuate when ordered. Keep backup records. Store a computer and a copy of company records away from the work site. Communication is vital. Invest in two-way radios and/or cellular phones. Consider casualties. Rescuing injured or trapped people becomes the #1 priority. Update your plan and keep personnel information up to date. Revise your plan, especially as you learn what works and what doesn't. Check hazardous chemicals. Keep an inventory off-site in case of emergency. Use your resources. The library can be a big help. Disasters are stressful. Stress can delay the recovery process.
The one thing to remember, you're not doing this for somebody else. You're doing this for yourself, because the life you save may be your own.
You'll need every advantage you can get if you're called on to weather the storm.